Welcome to Dysfunctionally Yours, the podcast where we embrace the chaos, laugh through the struggles, and find hope on the other side of trauma. I'm your host, Brittany, and if you've ever felt like your life was a beautifully messy roller coaster of dysfunction, trust me, you're in good company. Here, we'll have real, raw, and sometimes ridiculous conversations about mental health, relationships, and healing, because let's be honest, life isn't always pretty, but that doesn't mean we can't come out of it stronger and maybe even smiling. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of bubbles, and let's navigate this wild journey together, dysfunctionally, but never alone.
Okay. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Dysfunctionally Yours. I am your host, Brittany. Look at this adorable little champagne flute that I have. I got this for my birthday. Look at it with this cute little adorbs. So cute. Sometimes I'm cutesy. I say that as I sit in an oversized hoodie of my brother's. But sometimes I'm cute. Sometimes I'm adorable. All right. How was everybody's week? I want to have a good episode, and I want to stay kind of on the theme, round out our third episode, our third installment of the Boundary series. However, I do want to take a minute to really check in. I don't feel like I could have an authentic episode if I did not take a moment to at least acknowledge that the world is on fire right now. And it has been a rough week with the shootings and how that has like played into social media and the news and everything that's going on with that. And also, we had another school shooting here outside of Denver, and that is tragic for so many reasons. And, I really personally get really weird around school shootings. I think the nation does, but I personally get super weird around the school shootings, and they really plague me. And um I have really big feelings about them, and obviously this one being close to home impacted people that I know, like personally, not just as like a residual because it happened close to home. So, those are some tough things that are going on into the universe right now. I guess it's not the universe, but going on in the world right now around us, very close to home. And I want to encourage and remind you to take care of you. These are yet again other reasons why boundaries are important, because sometimes it means that we need to limit our news intake, our social media intake. We really need to take a step back and understand how even seeing these things vicariously impacts us. These things impact us and cause like this vicarious trauma, this secondhand trauma to us just by seeing it or knowing it or being close to people that are experiencing it or going through it. So take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones. And for all of my friends that still send their children to school, I know that that is supposed to be someplace that we consider safe, and how hard it must be. I want to acknowledge to send your children off to schools where every day they become less and less safe, even in incredibly safe environments or incredibly safe cities. This is a problem, and I empathize with all of my mamas and daddies out there that have to send their kiddos away, and just hope and pray that they're going to be okay. So I take care of you. My teachers out there, take care of you. This is a scary, scary time, and I want to acknowledge that just off the top. And I don't want to stay super heavy in that. But like I said, I needed to be authentic and acknowledge that those are some serious things that are going on in the world right now. And I know that they really can impact each and every one of us in very different ways. And so just please, please, please be mindful of you, yourself, and your mental health so that you can support yourself and your loved ones around you. With all of that, whew, heavy. I feel like I probably just need a little drink of bubbles after that. Yikes. Can we just say bubbles make everything better? They do. They do. Right when you're a little kid, bubbles make things better. You blow bubbles into the air, everything is better. Babies that are crying suddenly see bubbles in the sky and they're like, "Ooh, bubbles." Have you ever been to a foam party? Bubbles make a dance party even better. I promise. I went to a couple of foam parties in Italy and holy moly, that is a good time. Those are my younger years. I don't know that I would enjoy it the same way today. But damn, that was an excellent time. So see, those bubbles made that party better. These bubbles make today better. So bubbles make things better at all ages. You should try it. I'm not lying. These are facts. Facts from the good book of Brittany. All right. Uh my ache and relief. Like, let's go. Let's just jump in to that. Let's just jump into the ache and relief of the week. All right, my ache of the week. So much ache. So much ache. The just ongoing family stuff. It's like the gift that just keeps giving, except it's not a gift. It's more of like the neighborhood kid that puts flaming dog shit on your porch every day and that you walk into and you can't even walk around it because it's just in your face and maybe it caught your porch on fire. I don't know. I have so much random ongoing family crap that just keeps giving and giving and giving. Also, I should note my therapist on vacation. It always seems to happen when she's on vacation. Things go from like whatever the norm is to like this escalated norm of like chaos every single time she leaves, just without fail. So, we'll be so excited when she comes back. And also, I wouldn't be me if I didn't have ongoing trauma that just keeps happening. Just like, do I even know what a calm, peaceful life is? I would love to, but I don't. So that is just my ache. And all I can do is laugh about it. That's all I can do is laugh about it. And to be fair, I have colored so much this week. I have done those little sticker things so much this week. Like, I have spent so much time drinking tea and coloring and then coloring some more and coloring some more. I just need something to like hyper focus my brain on, because even if I watch TV or something like that, my brain always leads back to hyper focusing on what I've got sitting in front of me. So I have just been engrossed with coloring and stickers. And I mean, it's been helpful. So, you know, I can say that. That's a plus. My relief of the week is I went paddleboarding with my kids. That was amazing. I have been trying to get Caden out to go paddleboarding with me since the springtime. And for whatever reason, it just keeps not happening, not happening, not happening, not happening, not happening. And finally, it finally happened. And he brought Corbin with him. And so I was like, amazing. So the three of us were out paddleboarding. We spent the whole day on the lake. It was a freaking blast. We had so much fun. So many laughs, some serious conversations, some more laughs. It was just really, really, really a beautiful day. There was this moment, I will say, that the boys started to fight with one another. And as mom, I always want to jump in and be like, now, let's not. Can't we have a good time? Right? Like really try and de-escalate it. I think they either tune me out or it doesn't de-escalate it and it makes it worse. And so there comes a moment in time where your kids become adults and you realize like, oh, it's not my responsibility to fix this, or I can't fix this, or it does, like, whatever. I jumped off the paddleboard. I left them on their paddleboards to yell and argue with one another in the middle of the lake, and I swam back to shore. And I just waited for somebody to come pick me up on shore because I was like, fuck this. I am not doing this anymore. And as I was swimming across the lake, realizing that I was further away from the shore than I originally had thought, and remembering that while I can swim, I'm not Michael Phelps. So this was a task, but I did it, and I was like, this is what it's like to just walk away. And that was nice. That was freeing to be like, this is not my problem to solve. I'm not going to solve it, and I'm just going to backstroke to shore. If only everything had such an easy evacuation plan as a paddleboard does in the middle of a lake. I don't know that that's easy because, again, if you're not Michael Phelps and you don't have gills, you might not be comfortable jumping into the lake. But here we are, and all's well that ends well, right? And so that was really great, really exciting. Hoping we can go over there again this weekend. Like I said, just really trying to get some of that last minute lake time in before it gets cold. So that was great. It was great. Mom and sons. It was a good day. All right. Um Doobie doobie doo. Doo doo. Okay. Um how do I want to start this? Oh God. I lost my train of thought. Okay. So we've been talking about boundaries, and I wanted to share this one that I wanted to share this one. I am, if we didn't know, very much an extrovert in all sense of the word. I'm just a very, very extroverted person. I also am a very extroverted person with a lot of trauma, and that manifested itself in a lot of very strange and interesting ways. And so with that, I adopted some behaviors of like always wanting to go be out with other people because then I didn't have to think about my own stuff. I didn't have to listen to my own brain, which is very loud, and I could focus on other people, and I thought that it recharged my battery, things like that. And then I would notice that I would go out and it didn't always recharge my battery because sometimes I'm in fact actually tired. I don't actually enjoy just any and everybody, right? Like that's not always a good time. And so way back in the day, I would still go and I would be kind of angry and gross and be like, I hate everybody. Okay, red flags. This is clearly a boundary is being tampered with, but I didn't have boundaries. So I did not know that that's what the problem was. So if we fast forward a bunch of years, I move out to Colorado. I have some pretty firm boundaries at this moment in time in my life. And I had made a really nice friend group after moving out here that I really enjoyed spending time with. And I had a hard week. And I have said before, I don't love going out on a Friday. Friday is not the day that I want to go out. And I've said it jokingly, but it's also very serious that, like, if you want to spend time with me, brunch, brunch is the way to go for me because, like, brunch on a Saturday at 10 a.m. because I am rested, I am rejuvenated, I have all of my time to give, and then Sunday I can be back home, finish up what I need to finish up at home, I can recharge, I can recuperate, and I can like do what I need to do to get back into the swing of things on Monday. Or during football season, I can go watch football. I also did go over to my cousin's house and watched football all day last Sunday, and it was great. It was so low key. It was such a little vibe. I appreciated it. Like yay football season. Anyway, so to my point, I had been invited to go. Actually, it was to go watch we might have been watching, it was a Friday. It might have been to watch a hockey game at my friend's house, and they were having just a gathering, a little get together, some drinks, some food to watch the game because the Avalanche were in the playoffs or whatever. And are they called playoffs in hockey? I'm not a hockey girl. I don't pretend to be. I like sports. I don't know hockey though. So I decide like, God, I'm getting off work late and it's a little bit of a drive and I'm exhausted. However, I don't want to say no because I do kind of want to see my friends. And also, I want to continue to get the invite. And so I am now worried that if I don't go, they'll stop inviting me. And I don't want them to not invite me. And so I guess I'm going to go. So I go. I am exhausted. I am antisocial. I have nothing to say, just very quiet. And when people think that I'm being too quiet, they automatically assume that something is wrong with me because I am so extroverted and I do talk and I am social and I have a lot of opinions and I can like engage with a rock genuinely. So, I mean, as you see, I make this podcast and I talk to myself for 40 minutes straight and it works. So whenever I'm quiet, people like are like, what's wrong with you? Maybe you shouldn't have even come then. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I made things, I still got invited. It was kind of a one-off. We all kind of agreed, like, yeah, I should probably, whenever Fridays come, thank you for the invite. I'm most likely going to say no, but you just never know because maybe I was off that day. Maybe, who knows? Please keep inviting me, but I will be more mindful to not accept on a Friday if it doesn't work for me, because then I also don't show up my best for everybody else. And that does more harm than good to other people. And I go to say this because in the past couple episodes, we have talked about what boundaries are and that they're not walls, but they're doors that have a key that you can open and close as you need to. They are flexible in that sense, right? Like they're not firm. They're not made of sand. You can change them. I can say, you know what? As a general rule, I probably won't show up on a Friday for just any random whatevs. But if it's important, like I have a friend's birthday party next Friday, I'm going to her birthday party on a Friday because it's my friend and it's her birthday. So it's flexible. Also, already mentally preparing for that. What do I need to do all week to be prepared for that extra endeavor on Friday, right? So they're flexible and we can move them as we need to. And the next episode, we talked about how important they are, that they matter, but that they're not rejection. Boundaries aren't rejection. They are protection and they are clarity. And we talked also in all of that when we have good boundaries, they strengthen positive relationships. And so I tell this story about having these conversations with my friends that it's like, I so much appreciate this invite. I showed up. I wasn't my best, not for me, not for you. And like maybe we all need to rethink that so that so that we're showing up for our best in both spaces. So yes, please continue to invite me because it's not a hard rule in the sand or a hard rule, a hard like line in the sand. It's not a hard, fast rule that can't be negotiated, So like, please keep inviting me, but I need to do better to pay attention to what my brain, my body, and my soul are telling me that I need in that moment. So I thought that there's my example of just something small, right? Not every boundary is huge. Some of them are small. So we've had this little like crash course in boundaries in episode 1 and 2, and we're going to wrap up the 3-part series with like some practical tools and just some like real talk, like about how those things land. But before we dive in to all of that, I want to check in and ask, like, since this series started several weeks ago, what have you tried? Like, have you been like, you know what, I'm going to try that? What have you tried? A boundary that you've tried setting since this series started, and then did it stick, or did you get steamrolled and you were like, oh, let's go back to the drawing board? I'm curious. Like, I would love to hear. So write into the anonymous Google form that you can find on all the social medias, or DM me or whatever. If you all know how to get a hold of me in some capacity. But I would love to know, because we're also building this community and we do need to be able to support one another. And boundaries are hard. They're so hard. So let me know. I'm dying to know. Jumping into this, I want to talk about a little bit about like boundary maintenance, right? Like maintenance on a car. You take your car in every however often for your oil change or a tune-up or new tires, things like that. Like you do maintenance on it. You do maintenance on your house. You change the air filters. You check the batteries in your smoke alarms. You do all kinds of things. Granted, sometimes you don't do these things until there's warning lights, right? The lights on the dashboard are like low air pressure in your tires. That mine are right now. I need to go handle that. Your oil is low. Your fire alarm in your not fire alarm, your smoke alarm in your house is beeping because the battery is going dead. Like, there are some fail safes that come into play with some of these things. And remember, we talked about some of the fail safes that our bodies have, and that is feeling burnt out. That is feeling resentment. That is increased anxiety, right? We talked about those things. So our bodies and our minds also have a fail safe for whenever boundaries are being encroached upon or not put into place or not respected. So same way you take care of your car and your house, take care of you, take care of you. That also means that, like, just because you say it once doesn't mean that it's going to stick at all, right? Like, I don't know. If you're sitting here, how many of you have kids, right? You have kids. Bedtime is notoriously just a challenge for parents and children. And so your children know that 8 o'clock is bedtime. And without a doubt, there is going to be at least one day out of every single week that you have to remind a child it is bedtime. Bedtime is 8 p.m. It has to be consistent, but you're telling it multiple times over. So it didn't just because you said it once, it didn't happen. And granted, yes, that's a rule, but I reframed it last week as also like it's a boundary for you and for your child, right? Like, your children need to know what the rules are, but you can put a child to bed at 8 p.m. and have that so that you can have some time to yourself to decompress, to do homework for school, to spend time with your partner, to stare mindlessly at the TV in front of a TV show that is not Bluey or Blippy or whatever all of the cartoons and nonsense are these days. So you have to be consistent with these rules, these boundaries for yourself as well. So, I think an easy one for me is the work cell phone. I once upon a time I didn't have 2 phones for work. Once upon a time I had 1 phone for work. That was chaos because I never knew who was calling. I felt like I always had to answer it. I felt like my phone always had to be on me. And because part of it was work, even if it was after hours, I still had it at the table. Even though the rule in my house was no cell phones at the table, I kept mine at the table because it might be work. Why am I working 24/7? That's not actually how that works either. Um, Nowadays, I have 2 phones, and that's great, but I've also set my work phone to sort of stop sending calls and messages through past 4:30 because I can't answer it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna stay after hours and do all of this. My team knows how to get a hold of me, things like that, but not everybody needs to have access to me after hours, right? So, and that is such an easy one, like when things go sideways or I wanna be supportive or I'm engaged in a situation, it's easy to fall back into that one. It's easy to want to look at it on the weekend and if there's something going on, but it is inevitable that if I look at it on the weekend, now I'm invested. Now I'm sending emails, even if it's just like one email, like one Teams message, responding to one text messages, like one text message. What? No, set boundaries. If you work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Like, you don't have to be accessible at all times. Like, that's a boundary. That is a work life boundary. You're allowed to have work and you're allowed to have a life. Um, and it's I mean, if you think about some of these, like setting these and the maintenance on it, right? It's kind of like brushing your teeth. You know you need to do it. It's for your best interest. It's because you like to have your mouth clean and not decayed and all of these types of things. But it took some thought. It took practicing over and over to get used to it, to find a routine. I'm sure the average adult at this moment in time has an actual routine for like when you brush your teeth in the morning. It's not just like, oh, I forgot to brush my teeth. Let me go brush my teeth. It's probably following some sort of routine that you've now implemented it into that, right? So your boundaries can be implemented into routine. Your boundaries can become that consistent that they are implemented in, and that whenever X happens, you do Y and Z. That's okay. That would be a boundary. Um, but even if you're brushing your teeth every day, like that sort of maintenance on your teeth, boundaries are maintenance for you. You're still going to the dentist because that's additional maintenance. Sometimes we need a little bit more work, more maintenance than just your average every day. Um, but these are also good habits to get into. Setting good boundaries is also a good habit. In years past, people have said that it only takes 21 days to form a habit. New studies show that it's not 21 days, like at all. 21 days helps start a routine, but it doesn't actually start a habit. And that habits are taking more like 60 days. Like it's taking a couple of months of hard, fast dedication and consistency in this to build this. And so, you know, you might have to really practice this, and it might not be comfortable for the first couple of months. It might not be comfortable that you're trying to do this. Or if it's something that's just like, this is my boundary with my family for the holidays. Okay, maybe it's not easy on the first holiday, and maybe it takes a couple holidays, and that is over the span of time because holidays don't happen every day or every week, even. So just think about that like your boundaries take maintenance, and that is up to you. Nobody else is going to do maintenance on them. Nobody else is going to check in. You need to do that for you. And then you do need to expect that people are going to push back. People often times benefit from our loose, weak, or lack of boundaries altogether. And so these are the people that are not going to be celebrating that all of a sudden you're setting all of these boundaries, you know. They're not going to be congratulating you like, "Yay, you have that boundary that said you're not going to loan out any more money, but I need money." Like they're not going to be like, "Woohoo, go you." Right? Um and a lot of times these come with big personality shifts or behavior shifts in you, or you at least are showing up differently and presenting differently to the people around you. And so you might hear a lot of those things like, wow, you've really changed. I personally heard a lot of, wow, you've really changed after my brother died. And duh. like like duh. Yes, you're correct. I did. I did. Um and that doesn't always feel good because of course you want your friends to support you and celebrate you and encourage you and be alongside of you for these things. But unfortunately, like if that starts to encroach upon what they know of you or how you've presented in the past, they don't like that very much, right? Like I definitely did not have as much bandwidth for other people after Chase died. And so I no longer could be that like constant listening ear that didn't say anything back, like if I think you're kind of being wild and inappropriate, I might have just been like, yeah, you do you, right? Because who am I to tell you how to live your life? I'm not anybody to tell you how to live your life. And also, if you're my friend and I care about you and you're over here talking about things that make you sound some kind of way, or look some sort of way to the larger society, or actually it just doesn't land well on me because I'm like, what? Is that really your viewpoint? Like, I'm going to say something back. And that was a shift. And that didn't land well, whenever I was that friend you could call at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. just to like vent and vent and vent. Yeah, maybe not anymore. And maybe I'm not the one constantly reaching out anymore because I don't have that bandwidth. Wouldn't it be nice if things went both ways? But they don't always go both ways. So you're gonna hear, wow, you've changed. You're gonna get some pushback, and that can feel awkward or sad. Um, and that's unfortunate. But you're always able to like look at somebody and be like, I know that this is different than what you're used to, but this is what I need for me right now. And that's okay. You have to be able to show up for you, like take care of you, and you'll be able to show up for others again later. But, you got to take care of you first. Research actually shows that people often respect you more whenever you enforce boundaries. And I think we've all probably heard it about children, that children need boundaries, children need rules, children need structure. Children need to know what they can expect, but doesn't that make sense for all of us, right? Like, you want to know what the rules and expectations, the boundaries are at work so that your job is not changing every single day, right? Nobody likes to go in and be like, I had no idea what I was in for today. And so that is the same with your friendships, whether it's or your relationships in general, like your relationships with family, with friends, with children, with coworkers. People need and want to know what they're walking into and what some of those like boundaries are going to be, right? If you're the person that is totally okay with the unhinged, inappropriate joke, your friends probably know that. Your friends probably know that you are this safe landing space to tell an off-humored, off-colored joke that maybe you wouldn't tell in public or to a stranger, but like you're that friend. So that is a boundary that like you guys have. They know what that is. Oh, I know that I can tell Brittany this joke and she'll think it's funny. Even if it's like offensive, she still might laugh because like it's a joke. It was meant to be funny. Whereas you have other friends or family members that are very much like, don't tell me those things. Like, I don't find humor in it. I don't think it's funny. I don't like it. It's offensive to me. That's okay. Don't tell them that joke. Go tell the person that is going to laugh at it versus the person that is going to make you feel like a, piece of shit for telling an off-colored, off-humored joke. But people are going to respect you and you're going to know how to respect others. It really helps build these stronger relationships. We talked about that last episode. But like even if people don't like it in the beginning, it does strengthen a lot of different areas. And at the end of the day, even if it doesn't strengthen a relationship, it is strengthening you as a person so that you have some sort of peace of mind. Um, like we talked about last week, remember that you do not have to over explain yourself. That can lead to burnout. We don't want to end up in burnout while we're trying to enforce a boundary. Like, that is actually defeating the purpose. If the boundary is here to prevent burnout, we don't need trying to enforce the boundary to lead us to more burnout. That's wild. So don't over explain yourself. That's exhausting. That's time consuming. And honestly, if sitting around and explaining your boundary is sort of like going to jury trial with your friends or family, then you're over explaining, because you should not actually have to convince anyone to like or respect your boundary. It just is what it is. And that can be uncomfortable and that can be awkward, but you do not have to, you are not responsible for somebody else's response to your no, to your not today, to your maybe later, right? Um, so I know that those are hard and they come with pushback. And I think that you can be prepared for some boundaries to come with pushback. Oh, well, you did it last time. Okay, well, I'm not doing it this time. Like, that was your one off. That was your one and done. We're tapped out. We're at max capacity here. So keep it in mind. Gonna be pushback. It's gonna be awkward. We're all gonna survive. Boundaries are not just for other people. Boundaries are also for ourself. Like I talked about in the initial example that I made about maybe I shouldn't go out on a Friday night because I'm exhausted. I also said, sure, I didn't show up the best for other people, but I was exhausted. I knew I didn't want to go do that. I knew I didn't have the ability to go and do that, and I did it anyways. So some boundaries are for ourself. And honestly, who else is going to monitor that except you? You don't have anybody else monitoring your boundaries. Nobody's going to call you up and be like, remember, Brittany, if you got invited to go out this week, say no. Really think about it. That's not what anybody else is going to do. Occasionally, you might have the friend that checks you whenever you're sort of like bouncing ideas off and you're like, yeah, you know, my kiddo called and asked to borrow, more money for the phone bill or whatever. And I don't want to do that, but I'm going to. You might have the friend that's like, but why? Because you told them the past 2 months that you weren't going to do it again. So you might have somebody that's there to sort of hold you accountable, but like maybe not. Boundaries are for you. And nobody else is really responsible for monitoring that. It's up to you to catch yourself. It's up to you to know that, like, you're not at work. Don't look at the phone, because you and only you know that you will respond to it. So, like, don't pick up your work phone and look at texts at 2 a.m. and get yourself going. Don't go to brunch with the friends and be looking at work texts. Like, that's not helpful. That's not conducive to your well-being. That's not allowing you to separate like your work-life balance, right? These are things for you so that you can get a good night's sleep. That's for you, nobody else. So that you can enjoy your time with friends at brunch and enjoy your meal. That's for you. Like, you're paying for that meal, you're paying for that time. Like, go be with your friends. That's for you. That's filling a different bucket, right? Like, sleep is filling a different need. Time with friends is filling a different need, a different bucket. We have all these different buckets, and what does that go into, and which one is depleted and which one is not? Like, you can look at these things and set your boundaries accordingly for you and only you. This is self-discipline, and self-discipline is self-respect. Respect yourself enough to give you what you need. Think about you. Put you first. It's okay. It is not selfish. Um, and actually, the American Psychological Association says that lack of boundaries is a leading cause of burnout. Burnout with our friends, burnout with our social capacities, burnout at work, burnout in our relationships romantically, frustration with our children, all of the above. So there are studies that show that Lack of boundaries leads to burnout. Who wants that? I don't wanna walk around my life like a burnt out match, right? I wanna be this little flame that can just, like, shine as bright as I need it to. Uh, does that make sense? That was a weird analogy. Sometimes my analogies are, like, so good, and then other times my boundaries are derp. Other times my analogies are not good at all, and I'm like, "Why did I say that? That was a weird one." Uh, anyway. Boundaries are not always clean. There are situations that these lines can get a little blurry. I'm sure we can all think of one, right? Our family. Wow, that's a tough one. Family boundaries, that line gets so blurred because you're the parent, because you love your children, because you're the sister, because you're the daughter and these are your parents and you want to show up, like whatever that looks like, those lines get very, very blurry. And then there can be a lot of guilt about how you showed up uh for your family or what your boundaries were. I know whenever I moved back to Colorado and I was around a lot of family again, and I was spending holidays and stuff with them, it always seemed like it didn't go the way I wanted it to. It didn't go the way that I had hoped it would go. And I would leave angry, upset, disappointed. God, disappointed. So disappointed. Um, and I would keep showing up hoping this one would be better, hoping this one would be better than the last. And it wasn't. And then finally I was like, I'm done doing this. This is not what I'm doing anymore. And I decided that particular Christmas to go spend it in a hotel of my choosing, to do what I wanted to do, to relax, to lay low, and to do what I wanted to for my own peace of mind. And can I just tell you, it's one of my favorite Christmases of all time, and empowering myself to know that I was like, that's empowering to know that I was like, nope, not doing it again. This is what I'm going to try. That was scary. That was awkward. That was like, really, am I going to go spend Christmas by myself? But then afterwards, the aftermath of that, knowing, feeling empowered, feeling peace, knowing that I woke up after the Christmas holiday was over and being like, nice, no regrets. That's wonderful. And my bucket was full. And that is great because the holidays can really drain a bucket for sure, right? Um, the work, the work boundary, that one can be tricky too, because you're like, well, my boss asked me to do it. And, my boss said it's urgent, but it's 9 p.m. No, it's okay. It's okay. I understand we all need a job and things like that, but mm, I feel like there's rules and laws that say if you're not working at 9 p.m., you shouldn't have to work at 9 p.m. I don't know. It could just be me. Maybe I live in this fantasy world. Maybe it's not that easy. So that's what I'm saying. I know work boundaries can get very blurry. Friendship boundaries can get very, very blurry. Like these are people that you care about, that you have invested time, that you've invested interest, that you guys have been there for one another whenever things are good, bad, or indifferent. So those lines blurry, they can get tricky. Um, Dating, yikes. I think we all get a little like dum-dum sometimes whenever we're dating and we're like, well, but they didn't mean that, or next time, or it's okay because I love them. Blurry, right? And then, we're going into like this new relationship or whatever, and people calling your boundaries walls. Oh, I can't really get through to you because of your walls. Sir, excuse me. This is called self-respect. Self-respect. So like those can get blurry. That can get very challenging as well. I definitely understand that. I would love to know for you to identify like the last time that you bent, that you were flexible, that you gave in. Did you want to do that for you? Or did you feel like you had to do that because you were worried about the aftermath, the response, the consequences? And if the answer is the latter, I really encourage you to look at like how those boundaries can be rebuilt and reinforced, because we should not feel like we have to give up on ourselves because of the consequence of what's going to happen. The right. Enforcing all of these boundaries can have a really great payoff, though, for as hard as it is, right? We've spent 3 episodes at this point talking about how hard boundaries are, but the life after boundaries, there is such a great payoff there. There's a shift in you and in the world around you whenever you hold firm. And this leads to like an increased peace of mind. And I don't know about you, but like my peace of mind, my just peace and serenity, my feeling of like safety and security within my own like self is my number one. Like, yes, so important. So you get this increased peace of mind, and then there's fewer resentments. And resentment is such a shitty, gross feeling and emotion. Like, we don't like to feel like we're resenting somebody else or a situation. We don't like to think that we're like resentful going to work or resentful dealing with XYZ human being. Like, we don't like feeling that. So, if there was something you could do to not be resentful, wouldn't you do it? Um, you're going to have a stronger sense of self. Your identity is not built on people pleasing. Again, I know that my people pleasers out there are like, well, I just want everybody to be happy. I just want everybody to be happy. My friend, I want you to be happy. I want you to be as happy as anybody else out there. Boundaries don't end relationships. Boundaries reveal which ones are worth keeping. And that's powerful. That, again, can be sad, but it is powerful. So, how do we put a little tool or two into our toolbox to move forward? Like, Brittany, how do I do these? What are some basic one-liners I can say? Because I told you not to elaborate. Don't over-explain yourself. I'll give you a couple one-liners if you want to take out a note card. If somebody is asking for last-minute help, you can simply say, I'm not available for that. That's all. If a coworker or a client is wanting to talk to you after hours on a weekend, your day off, when you're on vacation, whatever, that doesn't work for me. Here's what does. And give a list of your hours or when you'll be back in the office to deal with this situation. If a friend or a family is needing that 11 p.m. therapist from you, you are allowed to say, I don't have the capacity for this right now. If it's something you'll have the capacity for on Saturday, let them know. If it's not, I don't have the capacity for this. You can also say, whenever you get some of that pushback that I said is inevitable that you will get, you can say, I understand that you're upset, but my answer is still no. And like we said last week, no means no. No is a complete sentence. And this can get awkward, but consistency is going to be the thing that keeps this easier, right? When people aren't continuing to try and test your boundaries because now they just respect your boundaries, it gets easier, and it doesn't always have to be so complicated. When looking at the boundaries that you're trying to put in and the responses to them, I want you to also go back to what looks like a red flag and what looks like a green flag, because people are going to respond, but we have people that respond in like red flag kind of ways, and we have people that respond in like green flag kind of ways. So, red flag ways, that response is when they try and give you guilt trips, when they give you the silent treatment, when they continue to give you this like repeated disrespect after you've asked them not to, and the gaslighting. Red flag. Red flag. Is that a relationship that you want? I can't make that decision for you. You do you. But then the green flag side of that is like when people are like respecting these boundaries, that can look like people adjusting without pushing you further into changing your mind. They're respecting your no. maybe even thanking you for the clarity. Because like I said last week, clear is kind. When people know that, that's okay. People respect that. And then I encourage you again to start really noticing the people who celebrate your boundaries. Keep those people. Keep the people that are celebrating your boundaries and get rid of the people that are gaslighting you because you're keeping them. Like, that's not okay. So, I think, um, again, another question, like, what has been your biggest shift since holding boundaries? Me personally, my biggest shift since holding boundaries, I guess the biggest boundary that I have to, and there's a bunch of them rolled into one, but I will say with my family, I talk a lot about my family. You're like, yikes. I've heard people be like, that's deep. That's intense. That's some wild shit. So like enforcing those boundaries with my family, like for myself, and some of them may or may not even know it, but I just know like these are my boundaries for me. My peace of mind, not worrying about it, not being in situations where I have to fight, not being in situations where I don't feel safe, whether mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever. Those things matter. That is my biggest shift since holding boundaries, is this sense of peace in myself and my own safety. And that, I wouldn't trade it for the whole wide world at all, ever. And so I encourage you to look at, like, boundaries that you've enforced, and, the ones like, what has been a shift since holding those boundaries? A positive shift. Um, and that is going to wrap up like that third episode in this 3-part series of boundaries. This podcast is always about embracing our messy, dysfunctional sides, and we love that. But boundaries are how we keep the mess from taking over. So you've probably laughed or cringed and possibly realized that some of your relationships are powered by guilt trips or people pleasing. But hopefully you learned that you don't have to live like that anymore. And here's what I want you to take away. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. They're not selfish. They're how you keep yourself from abandoning you. And they're not a one-time thing. They are a lifetime practice that you have to provide that maintenance for. Next week, we are moving on from boundaries, but don't worry. We're going to dive right into another messy but necessary topic because, around here, dysfunction never, ever sleeps. Until then, new episodes are released every Monday. The the unedited episode is on YouTube on Monday. You can like, follow, and subscribe. You can also follow along on the social medias, Instagram and TikTok, where you're going to see some reels, participate in polls, be able to drop your feedback. I asked a lot of questions of you this week. I'd love to hear from you. And until then, don't be afraid to be great. Toodles, poodles, bye.